In this video we're going to talk about your past and how to let go of trauma from your past. We ask you to consider returning the energy shared in these videos through PayPal or Patreon to unlock flow for yourself and so that we can continue sharing the source truth and guidance. More empowerment and clarity to you. As a source player, you will always have the potential of perceiving your past as a positive experience. If you are a source player, that is always going to be true. There are tremendous limits to what you as a source player potentially could have ever experienced. And amongst your experiences, you will not, as a source player, ever have had anything that is not possible to perceive as a positive experience. But getting to a place where you can perceive your past and all your experiences as positive is an achievement, and it takes work and dedication. And it is something that you deal with along the way. As things come into mind, as you remember things, now that you are more mature and you have better clarity and higher frequency knowledge, you can look at those things and change your mind about them. And like I said, there will always be a potential of perceiving it in a freeing way, a way that you can feel good about. But it might not always look like that, as things come into mind and you remember that experience and you might have some trauma from it. But as a mature source player, you will now have the ability to think about it differently. And in fact, you are doing this all the time, with things that happened yesterday or a week ago, and you recognize that you remember it maybe differently from what it potentially was. You can always go and change your past. I'm not saying you're going to create a lie about your trauma and what you have experienced, but you must understand that you can perceive it in a higher frequency way, which will be a more freeing way. So high frequency that it simply releases any trauma, because with your new high frequency perception of that experience, it doesn't trigger in the same way. It doesn't trigger at all. And there doesn't have to be one correct thing that is going to release you from that trauma. Whatever works for you. And in one given scenario, you might have many potential ways of perceiving that situation that is going to bring you peace about that situation. And if we were to use an example, let's say that you had treated someone badly and now you feel traumatized about it, and it's affecting you today in such a way that you want to be extra kind to everyone, maybe in such a way that it's not beneficial for you even. Well, a higher frequency perspective of what happened in your past in that scenario could be that you was immature and you didn't know better. And if you can come to terms with that as a potential factor to why you behaved the way you did, then that might give you full release. That might change your past. Now you wasn't a bad person back then, but rather someone who was immature and didn't know better. So now you have changed your past. You wasn't a bad person. You just didn't know better. You were immature. And of course there are many other things that could have been a potential reason for your behavior back then. But the truth will always set you free. And I don't want you to replace it with a lie. You will feel the pressure. You will feel where the pressure is. And there is a truth to what happened back there. And the better you can recognize that truth, the better. If you can find the truth, you will be set free from it. And the same thing goes for how other people might have treated you, what scenarios you might have found yourself in, what things happened in your life. There will come a time where you can perceive that experience in a higher frequency way, where you can release that way of perceiving that past scenario. And if it comes to mind, you might be ready to deal with that now. You intend to overcome it, intend to see the truth about it, intend to let go. Intend to move forward in life. Intend to not let that thing or scenario be something that is holding you back anymore. You can be free from that now and move on. And you don't need to remember all the events so clearly. If you have anything that is bugging you today, and you know that it is about feeling guilty or feeling judgmental from experiences in your past, or that someone had done you wrong, you don't need to remember exactly what happened, but you can understand what type of scenario it potentially could have been that is now making you feel in the way you are feeling. Maybe it was a friend that did you wrong, maybe it was your family, whatever it should be. And you can now use your intent to overcome it by replacing it with the new, more mature, higher frequency clarity that you would have about those type of scenarios. And when there is nothing bothering you, when you feel fine, then you feel fine, and there is nothing bothering you. Then you have dealt with it. When you are in a complete state of forgiveness, when you feel free, when you feel fine, then it's all good. But if something comes to mind, if there are any feelings, something is bothering you, intend to let go of it. Intend to forgive. Intend to understand. Intend to move on. And if there is any memories of traumatizing scenarios that you can remember, try to play around with them a little bit. Don't focus on meeting up with people and saying sorry or asking for forgiveness or anything like that. You can do all of that by yourself. You can imagine being with that person that treated you badly, or you had treated them badly, and deal with it as if they were there with you. Say that you're sorry, say that you didn't know any better, and that you want both of you to put it behind you, so that both of you can move on and live a great life, having forgiven whatever it was that happened. Be someone who can forgive, and who can understand that we weren't always as mature as we are today. And in 1 year from now, we're probably much more mature. and it was always a level of maturity. At some point it might not have been high enough for you to be able to live a high frequency life experience, and be fine with that. It's totally fine. And not everyone else was high enough frequency for that either, and be fine with that. And learn to move on. Learn to forgive. Learn to let your more mature self help the younger you out in those scenarios. I don't want you to leave your moment and completely go back. But remember what is bothering you. Allow yourself to experience the feelings that are coming with those memories. And you deal with it here and now, in your now day, in your now moment. And make sure that every part of you retrieve back to this moment. And cut anything that wants to keep you back there. So essentially what I'm saying is that you as a Source player would benefit from knowing that your past was great. You have had a great life. And if you can't tell yourself right now that you have had a great life, then it is probably because something is coming to mind. And it's a very draining and unbeneficial experience to go and perceive your past as a bad thing. It is your past that got you to where you are today, all the experiences you had, the good ones and the bad ones. And the bad ones was probably some of the most beneficial in getting you to grow and ask questions and gain clarity. So learn to perceive your past as a positive experience that you appreciate that you have had. And if anything is coming to mind, anything negative, then deal with it. Forgive. Understand that you might not have been mature enough to deal with it better. It's fine. Forgive. Move on. And live a life where your past is something that you appreciate and respect. Unless you have forgiven your past and come to terms with it, and unless you are perceiving your past as a positive experience, it would probably be because you have things there that you haven't forgiven. You have things there that are holding you back. And by changing your mind about your past and moving on, you will have a much greater capacity in your now day to create growth and movement forward and upwards. Because unforgiveness of your past and perceiving your past as a bad experience is going to greatly affect your potential and your capacity in this day. And it's going to cost you more than you think. Let go of those things, move forward. It's going to take some work, but it happens gradually if something pops up. But to live a life where you can know that you have had a great life is very rewarding. It's very fun. It's a great experience. You don't want to have any baggage hanging on your shoulders. Deal with it if anything pops up and move on. Let go of those things, move forward. If you have benefited from this content, consider returning the energy through PayPal or Patreon. You get out of this whatever you put in. More empowerment and clarity to you. Thank you.